Board of Commissioners. We'll call this meeting to order and ask Commissioner John Alford for an invocation.
Would you bow with me, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for this great nation that we live in. We thank you for this county. We ask your blessings upon all of our citizens and this board. And we ask that you grace us with your presence so that decision that we make be in the best interest of all of our people. We give you thanks for those who are here tonight and forever be with us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, we'll open our public forum, which is has a 3-minute limit on it. I know we have Miss Rayner signed up for that tonight. Come on up.
Good evening, Honorable Chairman Ivy and the Board of Commissioners. Yes, I'm here today on behalf of My Meta. My Meta is a nonprofit that was awarded a grant to host a STEM camp here in Scotland County. And currently we have 60 students. We've been hosting since June 19th. The camp ends. We have 4 more weeks, August 5th. We run Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 3:30. We host grades 1st through 12th, ages 6 to 18. I'm here today because initially, and Miss Harris is passing out our daily schedule and this calendar and what we passed out to the parents during the parent meeting sign up. And we had a great response. We had to cap it at 60 students, but there was so many more students, parents that came out that we couldn't accommodate. But the issue we ran into is that the teachers did tell me that they needed whiteboards, but it was my oops that I didn't understand what that meant. So I ordered those little whiteboards for all the teachers and the students. But I just also want to mention that I hired 6 teachers from Scotland County and surrounding counties and hired 9 residents from Scotland County to help administer this camp. So we employed over 15 people from the county that were not working this summer, mostly educators, to help with this camp. And Miss Harris is one of my educators, and she could go into more detail about the request for the Chromebooks and the whiteboards, because I just was not familiar with that. And we are requesting $18,057 for whiteboards and the Chromebooks. But I'll let Miss Educator Harris talk about that.
Good afternoon. My name is Detavia Harris. I am a EC teacher at Wagham Elementary. With this camp, we have been doing different assignments with the kids. It's basically like a mini school for the summer, but we try to incorporate having fun within it. As of right now, we are constantly using pen and paper, pencil and paper, and it's kind of hard to get the kids to focus and learn how they should be. So I just wrote down a couple of benefits I wanted to share with you guys for having Chromebooks. It allows access to information and resources for the kids, such as digital libraries. They can go on Google and search up anything that they need. It supports different types of learning styles. It adds a fun factor. The kids love playing Booklet and quizzes and having different types of things they can interact with. It reduces the use of paper. We're constantly running copies of papers right now, so we're trying to bring that down. It is the way that the kids learn, and we're trying to keep that going from how they learn in school to how they learn through the summer. It's easier and faster to assign work assignments. And as for the smart TVs for teachers, it allows teachers to project lessons on the board for everyone to see. It encourages students to engage during lessons. It's time efficient, and it also accommodates the learning styles of the kids as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
both. Anybody got any question or anything? Seeing none, thank you guys.
Okay.
Does anybody else? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Everybody should have received that beforehand. Motion. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item, Church Community Services, Mr. Vince Bateman is here.
And I do also have some things to give you as far as some updates on our organization. And I'll do that as we conclude here with my presentation. Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Vince Bateman. On behalf of the clients, volunteers, board members, and staff of Church Community Services, I want to express our appreciation for Scotland County's past monetary support. Your funding was especially important during the COVID-19 pandemic. We also thank you for the strong working partnerships that CCS enjoys with several Scotland County governmental agencies. As part of our overall mission of serving by sharing, we assist homeless families and persons by paying for temporary lodging. In most cases, we refer them to agencies such as the Laurinburg Housing Authority and Southeastern Community Action Partnership for permanent housing assistance. These Scotland County residents are in need for a variety of reasons. Many have lost their home or apartment due to a reduction in their financial resources. Perhaps they've experienced the devastation of a fire or hurricane. Church Community Services relies on gifts from local philanthropic organizations, churches, individuals, and businesses to pay for this temporary housing. We depend on these supporters in this ongoing endeavor because the majority of our grant funding cannot be used for motel lodging. Additionally, our bylaws state that none of our funds can be used for rental and utility deposits. Grant funding to pay deposits is also not permitted typically. Paying these deposits can be a major obstacle for a person or a family and can delay them in securing and moving into permanent housing. In a typical month, Church Community Services spends between $1,000 and $1,500 in providing temporary housing. We also turn down an average of 10 requests each month for utility and/or rental deposits. The costs vary between $200 and $400 for each type of deposit. Please consider the needs of these residents that I've described. We request that the county approve funding in the amount of $30,000 for Church Community Services to assist homeless individuals and families. Your financial support will allow us to continue to serve and also to expand services to our residents who are transitioning from homeless situations. Thank you for your interest and consideration. We wish you and your families a safe and happy Independence Day.
Vince, how much did you say you were requesting? How much?
$30,000.
30,000. Yeah, I wrote down 42.
What was given last year?
Last year was
Let's see.
30, I believe, $30,000, Commissioner McFadden.
Did we use that whole thing? We used the entire amount last year?
We have roughly $2,000 remaining.
30 calendar, it lasts for the calendar year.
Yes, sir. Right.
Didn't we give a little extra during that COVID period?
Yes,
Not last year, but
right. 2 years ago, 45,000,
okay,
and then it was 25,000 in 2020.
okay. Got anything? You got anything? Any question? Oh, you look like you had something you were wanting to say. Anything from you guys? You look like you got something to say.
No. I mean, I'm just thinking in my mind. I mean, we all know that housing is a major issue in our community. I think all of us deal with it in some way or another. And so what you all do through Church Community Services is such a blessing to the community. I'm just wondering, with the funds that we moved over, do we have anything there that we may have some flexibility with that we can help them with housing?
Probably, but
I'm thinking in these terms. Would it be feasible? Would it be going forward instead of doing this every year?
Make it part of our budget.
Would it be some type of shelter? Would it be cheaper to have some type of shelter? You don't think so? I'm just thinking going forward.
not for 30,000. Not for 30,000. You would.
No, I'm thinking we adding 30 to what he got. I got you.
Oh yeah. Is Beth here? I thought I saw. Oh, there she is. She's hiding back here. That was not in this year's budget, or was it?
It was not.
Okay. That's up to you.
Well, I make the motion that we grant the 30,000 they're asking for.
Okay, we have a motion. We have
Second.
a second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Bateman.
Yes, sir. Thank you all. Thank you so much. And I'll present you each one of these.
Oh, okay. While he's doing that, we'll look for Miss Tiffany. There I saw her come in. Come on up. Sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir. All right, so our next item on the agenda is Southeastern Community Action Partnership. Miss Tiffany Anthony, boy, I was about to say that wrong,
okay.
is here.
Good evening, Chairman and the rest of the board. I'm here to provide just some brief updates on our progress with the IEJ project with Southeastern. Just to recap, we did come before the board to request that the IEJ property be donated to us, and you guys approved. So going forward, we were able to get information on two potential funding sources to help us develop this actual project. And it was through the SHARP program funding, as well as through the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency. They had some rebuild NC funds that will help us with the project as well. So starting first with SHARP. We had our site visit on June the 27th, where North Carolina Housing and Finance Agency came out to look at the project, look at the land that our proposed vision would be for. Mr. Robinson was available to assist in that site visit. He also provided us a way to meet after the site visit. And all in all, they were able to review the site and they were pleased. So they went ahead and gave us a approved letter of us to go ahead and submit the application. So our site was approved to go ahead and submit an application for funding. With that, it entailed us to really relook at our vision for the property to ensure that we meet SHARP guidelines, and to also, prepare for the submission of the grant. So that is a good thing, and I'll thank you for you guys' support. Also, with North Carolina, let me back up. We had to receive or contract out with a approved North Carolina Housing and Finance Agency approved housing development consultant, which is Judd Roth. This is a requirement of the application so that we are able to have someone that will help us navigate this process and application. The application deadline is July the 27th, so we're fastly approaching this deadline. But the good thing about it, we are on target to meet that deadline. As of right now, as far as SHARP is concerned, we've already, got the approval from North Carolina Housing and Finance. Our next step is to pretty much submit the requirements there. And I have been keeping in communication with Mr. Robinson, so he'll know where we are as far as that is concerned. So now back to our next opportunity for funding, which is through the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency. They have some CDBG funds available it's called Rebuild North Carolina. And it's an opportunity for us to gain additional funding for our county for this project. Because Scotland County is a target area for these funds, we are already positioned to really be able to apply for this funding. Also, Mr. Robinson was able to kind of talk to you all about getting a letter of support or a letter of interest to apply, because with NCORE, will be administered through the county. So the county will be the applicant. We'll be like the sub-grantee, our agency. So at this point in time, we received a letter, Mr. Robinson, saying that they have, received the letter of interest and we are eligible to apply for those funds as well. So I just wanted to give you basically some updates of where we are and that we are making good on our promise to go ahead and get this site developed within that 5-year time span. Just some crucial things I did want to mention, and that will be for both projects with, both funding requirements with NCORE as well as SHARP, is that that actual area, the property, not to be messed with. No, do not dig any holes or anything like that, because an environmental review need to be done on that area. It could be mold and things of that nature, but as far as any type of modifications or any type of disruption to that area, it cannot be done. So I'm available for any questions. Remember, we're still in the development phase, but we are working diligently to be able to provide some housing once we get funded. So, do I have any questions?
The NCORE
Yes.
requirement is that it still be titled to the county, right?
At this time, yes.
At this time.
At this time, yes.
But now, does that mess up the SHARP?
It does
grant?
not.
Okay.
It does not. Actually, she did respond to that, but she want us to make sure we confirm with our attorney. But at this time, no, that should not affect either application.
Is there a particular amount that you are planning to request in each application, or do
Yes.
they divvy it out? How does
Yes,
it-
they actually divvy it out. The max award for SHARP is $4 million. And for NCORE, it's up to 10 million.
And the county has to be the applicant because it's going to local government for these things.
Both of them are just in court?
Just in.
Just in court.
The SHARP visit, the SHARP would be through.
Will be us
Southeast.
as the applicant, will be our agency.
So we
as
would
the
just be a pass-through,
We would be a
basically.
Yes.
It's just like regular CDBG stuff we've handled
Mhm.
before.
Right.
Beth can talk about if you got
And
any
that's-
questions
Yeah, we-
about, but we've done those kind of grants before.
Mhm.
I guess the question that first comes to my mind is, okay, so we're talking about the land behind it.
Yes.
keeping that as a county title, but we're still talking about that other part of the school to go to Southeastern Community. So I guess we would need to break it up,
Talking about that north annex.
the annex, yeah. I know it's been surveyed, but I guess we would need to break it up to where that piece would be titled to them now or whenever we're gonna do it, and leave the other alone for now. But they already have it surveyed, so, I mean, we already have it surveyed, right? I assume it's done.
Two distinct tracks.
Right, right. Well, actually, yeah, it'll be three by the time, because of the school, the gym, and then that, and then the back, so.
Now, any demolition, is this on county or on y'all?
Right now, we can't do anything until after the environmental review. So we cannot do anything with the land that's there now. Nothing.
There's nothing back there to demolish,
Right.
is
It's
it?
outside of
You
just,
talking about that north?
Oh, no, that was for their office use.
Mhm.
Okay,
yeah.
and that will
okay.
be something
But
in
that's on
another-
them too, yeah.
Okay.
in
But
another
you're only referring to
phase.
the grass area.
We're only referring to the grass area.
Can't be
That's
bothered.
right.
Yeah, I'm
That's
saying-
correct.
Is this beyond the parking lot?
Yes.
Where the annex at? Where do it start? As far as where it can't be disturbed?
Where the parking lot is in the grassy area
Where the park-
on back. I'm not sure how many acres that is from the parking lot back.
I think your concern is our future parking lot.
In the front.
Yeah, and the 10 acres that we did, if it's correct, is off of not just that easement, but it's further back that left us space if we need to do a parking lot later, was the plan. It's further deeper in
I don't-
than right there. It's not right at the concrete.
And we're gonna talk about the parking lot in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
I've got the survey to show y'all.
You need anything else from us?
No, this is
Anybody
just
else got
any
anything?
questions.
I need y'all to endorse a letter of support for their
For-
project,
Mhm.
for the Sharp
Encore.
and the Encore project. Because they said, I know the Sharp folks said that they look favorably upon as many organizations within
Yes.
the community supporting the project as possible.
Yes.
And we have reached out to the city, asked
Yes.
them to do the same.
Yes.
And so she's gonna have, Miss Anthony is gonna be going before them.
On the
to
25th. Yes.
To ask for a letter of support from the city as well.
Mhm.
So do
And they
you-
have been very, willing to support us.
Yes.
As soon as I sent out, just an email, just inquiring, they were quick to respond and they are in support of our project.
So do you need
Your
a
motion?
action on that or?
Well, I at least need a consensus of,
I move that we, do this letter support and that we move expeditiously to get this land to them, because this is gonna be a win-win situation for the county. We need the housing, and we really need, folks to use this facility, the Johnson facility, and I think this is a great opportunity for this county.
and, okay, do y'all also want to officially, do the application for an Encore? Okay.
Make that part of your motion
Okay.
as well, and the second. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any questions about that, what we're doing? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay. Tiffany, he's gonna give you this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
there's something I didn't ask a question on, thinking anybody did.
Thank you.
To Ms. Rayner, that's sitting there. We didn't ignore you. There's just some due diligence that we have to do, but we heard it.
Was that what you want? Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
didn't see that, cause we didn't, tell her yes or no, or say anything.
Oh, yeah, I get you. I'm sorry. Yeah, we get to moving in here and we just. All right, Susan Saunders for the employee health insurance update.
Good evening, commissioners and everyone. I'm here to give an update on the health insurance change, and in doing so, I just developed a timeline to bring us up to speed. So it was June 8th that the board reversed the decision regarding our health insurance plan, and the plan was given to Blue Cross Blue Shield through Mark III brokerage. And will reiterate that normally this is done in like a 60 to 90-day time frame. So this put us on a very short rope here. So I appreciate everyone's patience, and I've been trying to give updates through employee emails as well. So on June 9th, that very next day, we had a meeting with the Mark III and the Blue Cross Blue Shield staff, and we have been meeting every week since then. There's several staff members. We have several from Blue Cross. We have for their pharmacy side, we're meeting with the Prime folks on the pharmacy benefits. But let me just explain how this is so much different than just a fully insured plan. We are a self-insured plan with Blue Cross, but it works and acts like a fully insured plan. But I did not realize this until going in, that we're actually building the plan from the ground up. So there was lots of questions about, are you wanting to cover this, or you want to cover that? And we would depend on our broker to do that. But we did line for line for line on every one of the coverages here. So we're doing most of it with the Blue Cross standard and some enhancements to keep us in line with what our MIT coverage was. So this has been a very labor intensive project, but we're getting there. On June 15th, we had a 2-hour implementation meeting. That was to get everything started, get everything signed. They sent us all the forms to sign. June 16th is when I sent out the email to all the employees and covered retirees with the new health rates, and recommended, based on what I was hearing, that they reschedule appointments in the first 2 weeks in July, if at all possible, and also get anything filled, any prescriptions filled by June 30th, if at all possible. I knew we were going to have a delay based on what I was hearing. June 23rd, I sent out another one, again, reiterating that, just reminding, please go get your scripts filled. Please change appointments if you possibly can. We had an implementation call today with Mark III and Blue Cross being on the call as well. All the questions have been answered regarding the benefits and coverage. The implementation analyst will send all the data to the configuration team there at Blue Cross. They are responsible for building the benefits. All of these yes and no questions we've been answering all of these weeks, they're pulling it all together, and they're building the plan from that. That includes the pharmacy coverage as well. Now, the data should be sent back to the analyst from the configuration team by Wednesday, July 5th. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that no hiccups happen. The analyst then has to audit it again to ensure accuracy and send it to the membership group by Friday, July 7th. Y'all see where I'm going? It's not going to be, the group number may be in our office by Wednesday or Thursday, July 12th or 13th. The goal is to have all members enrolled by Friday, the 14th of July. Once we receive the enrollment roster, after 24 hours to 48 hours, the employees may then go to Blue Connect. And we, of course, are going to send this information out, and they can download this information on their mobile apps, on their computers, and get access to their information. The digital card is what we've been talking about. The hard cards will be probably another 10 days or so after that, but at least they'll have access to their digital cards. But it will be Friday week or in the weekend before they will be able to do that. So I wanted to update you on that time frame.
Will that coverage be retroactive back to July 1st?
Yes, yes.
So if
And
somebody
I-
had an emergency room visit or something,
Mhm.
they may can't file it when they go in there because they don't have the card, but they can later file it.
Yes, yes. And they're committed to working with our members on that because of this delay.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? And we're working diligently.
I
We're
just
working
want to
very
say
hard.
thank you for your hard work and diligence, and just reiterate to our staff, work with us. We made a boo-boo and we're trying to make it right, and we appreciate what you're doing to help us
I
fix
think it
that.
was a good decision, though.
Yep.
And I thank you for that. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. Deaver, the Health Department update.
Good evening. I have with me tonight my Director of Nursing, Ms. Donna Page, and she's going to speak with you about our HIV numbers and a proposal that we're working on a new program to get started.
Does everyone have a copy of the slides?
It's in the.
It's in our
It's
package.
in our
Okay.
packet, yes.
And I am Donna Page, Director of Nursing, and I'm also a communicable disease nurse. And this is for your information only, and hopefully for a little bit of education about a health issue in our community. So anytime the health department decides to start a new program, we have to get community input. We have to share with the Board of Health has to approve that program. And then we share the information with the commissioners as well. And so this new program that I have been trying to do since 2019 is finally coming to fruition. Tried in 2019, but of course COVID hit and it took everything away from that effort. So this is a PrEP clinic, and PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis for HIV. You can move on, Jason. I'm going to try to go through. I'm not going to talk about, so you stop right there. So PrEP is a medicine that people who are HIV negative take every day, and it's for people who are at high risk of getting HIV. And so taking this pill every day helps them to reduce. It's like 99% effective, 74% if someone's an IV drug user, but 99% effective for the general population that's at risk. And since 2010, there have been multiple strategies for ending the HIV epidemic in America. And a part of all of those have been PrEP, because it is the only known prevention tool that exists to help improve HIV numbers and reduce the new infections. You can go, Jason. And so there's good news. It has been working since 2010 to 2019. The viral suppression is improved, diagnoses have declined, and deaths have declined. So that's great news. But we still do have disparities. Effective treatment and prevention are not reaching the people who need it the most. Black and Latino populations and communities are disproportionately affected by HIV compared to other groups. In the South, we have our own little special situation going on. Regionally, the South accounts for 51% of all new HIV diagnoses, and that's from the 2020 data. So in the South, fewer people are aware that they're infected. Fewer people who are living with HIV receive the medical treatment and care they need. Mortality is 3 times higher than in most other states, and more people are missing the opportunity to avoid the transmission because they don't have access to PrEP services. Back in 2019, it was $291 million Donald Trump put in a budget, and they identified hotspots in the United States. So that's what those blue dots are. Mecklenburg County was one. The whole state of South Carolina is a hotspot. So we're between those two, and so you can go. And here's a map of the HIV in the South. Of course, the darker areas are the higher rates of HIV in the South in 2020. Scotland County is one of those areas. I did a little blow up, and it's the darker red.
Yes.
And so why in the South is this such an issue? We have high unemployment rates, high poverty rates. There's barriers to care, lack of insurance. Half of all Americans without insurance live in the South. Transportation, longer travel times, limited access to the prevention and treatment services, and of course the cultural factors, which is homophobia, transphobia, and the stigma that's related to sexual orientation, substance abuse disorder, and poverty. And the prevalence in the southern region is, and it's hard, that's kind of not a good slide, but majority is male, like 3/4 of the new HIV cases, or the ones living with HIV, are male, and over half is in the Black population. And so you can go to the next one. Then the new HIV the new cases reflect that similarly. You've got the majority of them are male. Females do get HIV also. And then you've got the 51% of new HIV cases are in the Black population in the South. This is an interesting slide. And it didn't print out right because I had it on a PowerPoint and it was supposed to do some fancy little stuff. But 57% of new HIV cases are now in ages 13 to 24 in the South. You got your, the blue line represents the people who are living with HIV, which is, and it's older as it gets to the right of the screen. So of course there's older people living with HIV, but the new cases are happening in that age bracket of 13 to 24. Very concerning. And here's this is from the NCDHHS website. We ranked second in the state for new HIV cases from 2019 to 2021. So, and that's above Mecklenburg County, which was a hot spot. And then the next slide, it shows the newly diagnosed HIV/AIDS. For the AIDS cases, we were 8. Yeah, we ranked 8. And it's hard to see. You on your handouts, you can see you can go back and look at the rates compared to state rates. They don't mean a whole lot until you look at where we're at as compared to the state.
Almost compared to per 100,000.
Yes.
That's why it looked like we're higher than Mecklenburg County.
Yes. But when you look at Scotland County with 34,000 people, and
But our 5 can look bigger than what it is.
it counts as
compared-
3,
Yeah. I
basically.
mean, it's like that with everything,
Mhm.
crime and
Yeah.
all. They compare us to bigger cities,
Mhm.
but they're doing it per 100,000. So they're saying if you were 100,000, that's what you would be.
Yeah. 12 new HIV and AIDS cases, even in a 34,000
It is
population.
high.
That's
I
too
agree.
much. It is. And then the people, and this, I did a comparison of our border counties per 100,000, 459 in Scotland. And look at Mecklenburg, 657, Cumberland's 533, but we're running neck and neck with Cumberland, which is huge. The population is huge compared to Scotland. So, okay, next. And health. Okay, so earlier in the year, you heard about health rankings and comparisons. So what I did was I pulled our border counties in North Carolina and compared our rates to our border counties of Robeson, Hoke, and Moore. And of course, we outranked them at 900, and I think that's 52%, 82%. So we were higher than all 3 of our border counties in the health rankings. And that's with sexually transmitted infections, which also includes chlamydia and gonorrhea. But it is still a very high rate. And so what are we doing? We HIV test. It's free. It's available 5 days a week. We do have an HIV clinic at the health department, and we have like 41 patients in our clinic right now. And we get funding through Ryan White program for our program services for HIV positive patients. We also take insurance that covers HIV care. And we have an HIV case manager. So case management helps keep people in care, which keeps their viral loads down, which keeps them untransmissible, and keeps the HIV rates from increasing. So HIV care management is very important. So what do we need to do now? We need to prevent new HIV infections and protect vulnerable populations, and that's through PrEP. And so that's why we're trying to do this. So you can go to the next one. PrEP to need ratio. So the lower the number, the less utilized PrEP is being used by these populations, females, Black population, and the age 13 to 24 are the ones that are underutilizing PrEP in the southern region as of 2020. And I'm not going to read this slide. It's wordy, but you can look at it in your packet. It just reiterates everything I've already talked about as far as why we're missing a hunk of the population and who needs it. And so why do we need it? We're a southern state, impoverished area, rural health department. We're located between 2 hotspots. We have high risk underserved population. We have limited providers for PrEP services, and we have the high HIV and STD rates. And so where do we go from here? I'm happy to say, since the Board of Health meeting when I talked about this, last Tuesday was a National HIV Testing Day. So we had a testing clinic at the health department. And then we went to Walmart, and we partnered with Walmart and the Elton John Foundation. And we were over there from 2 to 6 doing HIV testing in Walmart. And they gave us a check for $5,000 to help fund our PrEP clinic, which was our biggest deterrent because people, it's like $80 to $100 a year for all the labs that are involved for one person for PrEP services. And that might not sound like a lot to some people, but it's a lot of people who don't have the money. And there are people who don't have insurance. And then it's $30 a year after that. So we're going to use that $5,000 to help seed the clinic and pay for people who are uninsured. And this is, I think, Dr. Robin Fanfare with the HIV Division Director. Overall declines in HIV incidence and increases in diagnosis and entry into care suggests that the expanded reach of HIV testing, prep, and treatment efforts have been effective. We do have the tools to end the HIV epidemic in the U.S., but our nation will not succeed until they are brought to full scale and equitably reach the people who need them to stay healthy. To achieve our national goal of ending HIV in the United States, we must increase investments in proven HIV prevention programs, expand HIV self-testing, grow and diversify the sites providing HIV services, and center equity in every aspect of our work. And that is for your information and for future reference, should we have to come back before the board to ask for funding for this program. Questions?
Yeah, I do. I have a question. We went out to Walmart. What are we doing to target those areas? 'Cause we've identified there's some.
And
One of those low socioeconomic areas.
Mhm.
That's what we need to, that's what we need to be going.
during the time I was at Walmart, we were there from 2 to 6 and we tested 18 people. Doesn't sound like a,
Next, Ms. Diva, what's the?
well, let me finish. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I already got a plan. So we've got our mobile van on the way. If they finish it, hopefully that'll be by the fall. And while I was at Walmart, a young man sat down to talk with me, and he was in a hurry and he wanted to be tested, but he didn't want to wait. And I said, well, we do this every day for free at the health department. He said, I don't want to come to the health department. And I said, okay. So going out is exactly what we need to do. We absolutely need to get out. And the plan is when we get our van, because blood has to be spun down, so you got to keep a cool area for things. So when we get our van, that'll be one of the things that we'll do is go out and about in the community and set up hopefully on a schedule so people will know where we're at. And maybe it won't be as much of a, because the health department lives under a stigma too, but maybe that outreach van will help. We'll go to them.
When you go out doing cholesterol and checking, doing those screening, you can throw that in, so if they.
Yeah, and HIV care needs to become just a normal thing for preventative care, period. Because when you say, oh, it's just for HIV testing, if private providers would work it into their annual visits and the things, I'd just normalize it. And it would make it so much easier, I think, for people to be tested. Exactly.
There's a lot of people that have not been tested. There's over 160,000 people in the United States that are walking around that haven't been tested and have HIV. And we would also possibly like to use the IA Johnson for a satellite clinic at some point.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I would like future update on the mobile van, so that whenever you're out and about, just give us an update of where it's being.
Yeah, we're looking forward to our van because it's going to open a lot of doors, I think.
Good to hear that.
Any more questions?
Anybody got anything else?
No, I just reiterate what Commissioner Williams said. That visibility in the community is important, and partnering with churches and groups when they're having events. You can kind of reach some people that way, and it's not as, it doesn't make them stand out as much if you can partner with some of those community agencies to do it while those events are taking place.
I know Donna mentioned that we receive funding through the Ryan White. It's actually in partnership with Robinson County, so we only get $30,000 a year. And last year, because of the new cases, we burnt through that pretty fast. So
Yeah, and Ryan White funds only cover HIV care, not HIV prevention services. And right now in the federal budget, if it ever decides to pass, there is more money for PrEP services. So I'm hoping that where the health department usually gets agreement addendums through the state for programs and services, that maybe because of our, while we're 35,000 strong, we still have a high rate, and they focus on those areas. That's one of the reasons that Walmart wanted us to come and do blood HIV testing with them in this area, because of our rates. So hopefully we'll get some funding from the state once the budget comes down. From the
You
federal.
said 13-year-olds, so.
Yeah. Lots of education. And I think with COVID, we still don't really know what's out there because people weren't in care and there was a lot going on during the pandemic. So I think it's just going to get worse before it gets better.
Okay, thank you both.
all
right, Mike McGirt, the IEJ report. Boy, I can't talk tonight. Ain't recognizing without his hat on.
Commissioner, I was informed I need to give you an update on the IEJ project. Several things I want to bring you up to speed on. First of all, is IEJ's shoreline, sanitary shore have all been descaled and relined. It's going to come with a 50-year warranty, and this was for all the main lines on the sewer system at IEJ. That was completed on 6/20/23. Lighting project we looked at, Jason Lyhover, the city gave us a lighting plan to kind of place some strategic lighting out to basically just light up the entire facility. We've got some a plan in place. I think Jason may have some information for you on that, along with the cost for doing a new lighting plan
Inside the building or outside?
outside the building. It'll be basically security lighting around the entire perimeter of the building, which will include the annex as well as the main building. I'll say the survey for last. While we were meeting out there, they had talked about maybe putting in a daycare type facility in the annex or the use for a summer program. During that conversation, we came up to the conclusion we're going to need to put some temporary fencing up out there to separate the two facilities until we get everything on board. All that work's going to be done in-house, which will save a cost of about $5,000 on that.
Are you talking about the part that's going to southeast? Separate?
I think so.
Where are you talking about putting the fence in that, Mike?
It will be between the new gym media center, since that will be operational, and the existing main building and the annex as well, because that will be property that will be under construction. So meeting with inspector, also with our risk manager, we felt the need to separate the two pieces with a temporary 6-foot fence. So it will be inside the courtyard.
Got you. On that north annex that's going to southeast. All right.
And what?
$5,000 for a fence that ran.
You're saving 5,000.
Yeah, it was going to be 5,000, and we had some fencing already. And
Yeah, we got a price to do it, to contract it out, and we had surplus property that we store. So we're going to do that in-house, which will be a savings of $5,000. And that just creates a safe environment. So when you have people using the media center in the gym, it just kind of isolates them from being able to get into other construction zones. We also met about courtyard, coming up with some plans for it. I met with the master gardeners. We're pulling some soil tests. So we're going to come up with a plan that we can represent once we get to that stage. But we have met on that as well. The media center is underway. We gave them a 10 to 12 week turnaround on doing the renovation on it. The demo has started. Projected completion date probably going to be in about 8 weeks. The goals have been ordered. We had that approved on 6/7. They've been ordered, so we will be installing new basketball goals in the gymnasium. A total of 6 going through.
Can you tell us what type goals it will be?
Basically, it's going to be color coded to kind of match the existing gym, maroon and white.
The basketball goal.
Right.
Okay. I'm thinking in terms of the ones that are retractable and the ones that are.
It will be the two main goals will be retractable. Sir?
Are they the goals that schools and universities are using today?
You talking about the road, the standalone?
Yeah, the way they're designed, are they the most modern design goals?
They are. I have to get the information for you because when you're asking me a question,
That we have in all that we have in Canada are just straight up.
You can't.
And teams can't play ball. And with our goals, the way they are, the way you play basketball today, they don't have any landing room. So the posts have to be curved way out. So
I
when
think I think the ones that there now, they drop from the ceiling.
Yes.
The other four are wall mounted.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
But the main two should be the most modern.
I'll get that information so we can share it with you.
What are they using in Laurel Hill?
The ones they use in Laurel Hill are, they only have two, and they are, adjustable up and down, but they're fixed.
Those are electronic. You
Well, that's
can
what
fold
you
them
can
up
roll
or
them,
you
talk
can
about.
move it up and down.
Okay, they're electronic, but I think the old school, I don't think they're the kind that curves the poles.
but
that the
I don't know if Johnson got enough room for the ones he talking about the rolls you roll in with they self-standing.
Oh, no, these are gonna be hanging when.
Right, they
Yeah.
should be mounted goals is what we talked about. But I'll get you the information so
They
you know
allow
exactly what
for
they
the
are.
ones I'm talking about. They be space limited.
Also the bleachers, the installer had a death in his immediate family, which he stopped the bleacher installation, but he's gonna be back, Wednesday to finalize it. One thing I was asked to bring before you, the survey, excuse me. Currently,
And I'm gonna say, Mike, when, after the survey, go back to the lights and talk to them about the lighting and stuff there.
okay,
'Cause I've
What-
got that- I think we'll find that. Hey, let me go to the.
well, let me talk about the survey first, because it's gonna shed some light on the lighting project as well. Currently, that property is zoned O and I. The requirements for the existing building for, as far as parking goes, is gonna be 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet. That's gonna require us to have 193 spaces of parking on that facility. Currently, we got 40 spaces in the rear behind the annex, which they're gonna require 30 of them for that building. And we got 12 in front of the main building. That's gonna look, we're gonna need to have an additional, we need 162 for our facility, standing alone, with the current zoning on that property. We got a design for 77. If we retain those 40 in the rear and 12 in the front, we're still gonna need an additional 70 plus parking spaces. Before we can cut anything out of that property, we're going to have another design showing that property. And that's based on if this property is utilized to its fullest potential. If we keep it as storage, we don't need any spaces. If we develop it to its potential, it's going to be 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet. And we got 54,000 square feet of building on our site. So I'm gonna need some guidance as to what are the future plans for that facility so that we make sure that we retain enough space for 70 plus additional parking spaces.
Mr. McGirt, if you can recall, we've requested funding from the state and we base that number on something. Do you know if that parking plan was included in that number?
It was not included in the number due to the fact that originally we were going to develop the property, and then we were instructed to put it on hold and we were going to use it as a storage facility until further notice.
So it's not included, you're saying, in the present plan, but I think in the $2 million that we went and requested in Raleigh, we had a parking plan included in that.
Gotcha. Can I, Mr. McGirt, have they ever considered this area here? Can I get up?
Yeah.
Have they ever considered redirect? This is the way that you go behind the gym, right?
Correct.
They took the park right here, and go along there, playground.
Correct.
Can they take this out, widen it, connect it, and use this as park?
We can.
Develop it?
And what we've talked about doing is up in the front, adding spaces up there, in the rear, adding space for the gym. We've got some plans in place, but before we start developing it, we just need some guidance as to this is, if we need 193, we're designing for 190.
So, but that's including this part, right?
That's correct.
What I'm gonna call the front. So with us not being in a position now to say what we're gonna do yet, why not just make the plan to do where the old shop building was that was tore down, and keep the plan for that to be the increased parking for now until we decide exactly what we're going to do with that front. And I'm not saying go out and do it, but that would, I think, would be the plan right now. But how many can get in that block there?
Roughly 70 spaces. And if we retain the main building as storage for the time being, I just want to make sure that we don't deed off any additional land that we're going to need if you decide you want to come back and make that usable property that's going to require to have 70 more spaces.
Gotcha.
I got you.
That makes sense. That's what you're saying. But I think we've got to look at that deed to make sure, but if memory is correct, we pushed it out far enough that where the playground was is not included in what we give.
I hope so, because she's saying don't disturb nothing. We can't.
Yeah, so we need to look at that.
Well, we're not gonna be disturbing that anytime soon, are we?
No.
I don't
No.
think so.
In the case of the all else fails, you could go to that far up right corner and not bother anything, you
Right.
know?
And close in, we won't know how many parking spaces we need to do that 70. But going forward, we won't know how many parking spaces we're going to need
Until we start.
until we get a client, till we know who's going to be in the building. And then
But
will
that
determine-
70 right there in front of the gym would give us right now what we need,
What we
and
need.
it would add to the aesthetics of the building. We've talked about that. Something has to go right there in front of that gymnasium because it doesn't
Right.
look good right now. And part of
You
it,
gotta do something with it.
we got to do
Yeah.
something.
And I will say the map you're looking at now is the actual boundary survey. If you can see that black line on the bottom where the playground used to be, that runs right parallel to the access to that back parking lot.
But that's the survey line.
Yes, sir.
And I think what you want to say, Mike, is we don't want to make sure not to give.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we don't,
Parking lot area to them, because then we would have to get an easement to be able to use it. It's better for Southeast to get an easement from us.
All right, so to make sure I'm on the right page, you've got, and this is more for the attorney, we got one deed here, which is already deeded to us, right? There would be a separate deed, it would still be to us for now, for this track. Then there would be a separate one for this track, which is Southeast Community. What we're obviously doing. And then that would still retain that, yeah, we were retaining the 10 acres because of what you said with but then we'd also be retaining that up there, that corner, in case we needed more room.
The 10 acres you're retaining would not be useful for parking, it would not be. I mean, it's part of their project, so it's
Right.
not gonna be
I wouldn't,
necessary for our parking.
right, because if you go back, you're gonna have to have it resurveyed again, right? You'd have to have it cut out again. If you were gonna take some, I don't see a need for that. If we're gonna put the 70 there, we retain that corner up there to where we could use that if we needed to for other parking for the front of the building. And then that, they could maintain that parking space would be sufficient for their size, right?
yeah, you give them 10 extra. It's 40 spaces and they only need 31.
Okay.
Does the city have any restrictions on where you can put parking, or can you put it anywhere on the?
You can put it anywhere on your property. You don't have to meet setbacks on it. So you can pretty much put it anywhere you like.
There's something there, that northwest corner. If you go there, there's a pipe coming out of the ground over there. I don't know.
They used to be an old well lot.
Over there's a big metal pipe,
Yep.
been there for years. So I don't know how much we can do up there in that corner.
And if you cut it out, you could use that, but it may be a standalone lot, which is more of a legal question. I don't know if we deeded that property to with Southeast, see if we could put an easement on it for our benefit.
Well, if you had to, the between the building and the street, there's a lot of room there that you could clear up in there.
Those
and
trees down.
Take those trees out. Use that area.
You can take those trees out anyway, those pines, I think.
I know they took, if not already took those out of that courtyard.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Mr.
Yes,
Mike.
sir. One other thing too, the annex building, all utilities that feed that annex building, electrical, soil, water is all tied into the main building. We looked at that. So that's something to consider
We're gonna have
when,
to consider that with, Southeast, so.
yes, sir. And getting back to the lighting project, we went into the lighting project knowing that we would possibly have to relocate some lights once the parking lot was done. So that was taken into consideration, but it was to basically just light that entire piece of property up.
Here, so, talk.
And that plan that you may have in your packet is basically showing where all the new lights will be at.
Okay.
But you've already took care of that with the city, right? Or with,
Well, we're just waiting for approval.
oh, you're waiting for us to approve
Yes,
that?
sir.
How much, okay, then we
You're
get.
looking at about $500 a month to light the entire facility.
I think that's a pretty good deal.
Are those the new LED lights?
They will be, yes, sir.
The 12 inches or?
Correct. They'll be state of art. Like I said, we met with the city. I mean, with their electrical design, and we came around with how we can just light that entire facility up.
I know some of the folks in that area probably glad to see more lighting.
True. I spoke with a couple of ladies around there, and they're excited to see it. You know, maybe it brighten it up and be a little place to hang out.
Same ones they put in front of my house, so you can land an airplane with it.
Hey, can you light it up?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to offer a motion that we approve the lighting proposal that's been shared.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second on that. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, anything else?
That's it.
Anybody got anything else for Mr. McGirt? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. When do you think the gym will be ready to open? I did mean to ask that.
They are going to do cleaning this weekend. We had talked about not opening the gym until the media center, but that's going to be your call. But they're
I
going
don't
to be
think
doing.
he has anybody hired. He's not here, is he? He doesn't have anybody hired
I
yet.
don't know, we talked about not opening it up because of the towel. that was missing
Right.
or whatever.
Well, and there's also the bleachers and the
Goals.
goals that are not in there
Right.
either. I-
Okay.
So,
No, I
and,
didn't know what the, okay.
and one other question I will ask, because I need to get back with the engineer and architect on this project, is tentatively, we're going to go with the phase one of the park, and that's in design phase right now. And we'll just wait for guidance as to where we need phase two of those additional 70 plus spaces.
Right. That, yeah, because right now we're waiting to see what the state does. To
Okay.
know what the funds will be. If not, then we got to go back to a drawing board and figure out what we're going to do. So,
Sound good?
okay.
'cause Beth can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that we have exhausted all the funds that were available
Phase one.
on phase one. So
Be ready for the parking lot, but we're not going to do anything until we get state
I understand.
funds.
parking lot is the first thing though that's
Gotta be.
got to be done. I
Right.
mean, if we do nothing else, we got to get the
We got to do the parking lot.
got to do.
We got to do the parking lot. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll turn it over to our vice chair on some boards and committee appointments.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, we have Scotland Memorial Library Advisory Board you see in front of you with one appointment, and we have 4 applicants. After conversation with our library director, I want to recommend the second name there, Mrs. Zachary Laminek. Board of Equalization and Review, we have 1 appointment and 1 applicant, Mr. Jimmy Bennett. Lumber River Workforce Development, we have 1 appointment, and that is to be an elected official, and we only have 1 applicant. That's Commissioner John Alford. And then for the Fire Commission, we have 1 appointment and 1 applicant, Mr. Mike Edge. And so my recommendation and motion is for Zachary Laminek on the Scott Memorial Library Advisory Board, Jimmy Bennett on Board of Equalization and Review, Commissioner Alford, Lumber River Workforce Development, and Mike Edge for Fire Commission.
Okay, we have a motion.
Motion, I second.
And John seconds. All right,
Thank you,
any other
Commissioner.
discussion? All right, all in favor? Everybody in favor? All right, any opposed? All right, thank you. County manager report.
I have just three things. One, and let me go, I'm still trying to get used to this going. One is the, and y'all have got this in your packet, the RFQ for the Turnpike Water Extension. That was completed on June 28th and was put on the county's webpage. So if you know any engineers that are interested, have them go to our webpage under How Do I and bid for a county project, and it's under water system. So I have sent it out to myself, ACOM, HRD Incorporated, McGill Associates, and Willis Engineering. And a little update, I also sent it to Dewberry, which sent me their information, and Withers Avenue, which sent me their information. So I've not heard from WK Dixon. Try to get it out there as much as we can. Those proposals are due back August the 18th to Mr. Blackman, who I believe the RFQ, and so they're due back by 4 o'clock on the 18th of August to him, and then he will go through and score and do all that stuff, and come back with you all with a recommendation on that. Number two, East Laurinburg Town Hall. Met with Iron Horse out there at the East Laurinburg building. They took photos, including with the drone, of the building and surrounding properties. He said he was going to go back and look at comps, recent comps, to come up with a proposed price. So that process is moving forward to sell the building and the land there at East Laurinburg. And I told him that you all would be amiable to possibly selling the lots separate from the building. So he knows that as well. And number three is request for contract work. As you know, I am doing at least 2 jobs, maybe 3. I'm not sure anymore, but I would like to contract with a person with clerking experience. I've asked a few people that weren't interested. I have got a resume from Miss Elizabeth Anderson, who was the former clerk in Gibson, and I would like to contact her and offer her a contract or part-time temporary employee, however she wants to do it. I'll leave that up to her. However her tax situation is, that would be best for her to do, to come in and do minutes, because as you can see, I had one set of minutes from May 17th, and I've been working on that since May 17th. So,
You don't need our approval for that, right? I mean,
well,
I know you're asking just
yeah,
to be sure, but I
yeah.
think that's within your purview of
probably, I'm still learning what is and what isn't.
I think
So-
it is.
But I would like to let y'all know at least that
We
I
appreciate
would like to do that and bring her in and let her do some minutes, talk to her about attending meetings, and let her, until 1, we get another county manager, or 2, we get a new deputy clerk. So either one of those, until that happens, that would, because thankfully, all of our meetings are recorded, and you can go back on YouTube and watch them. And so Miss Anderson, if she agrees to do this, she can go back and she can watch all the former meetings, do all the minutes. We should have no problem.
Has she shown interest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She sent me a resume because she had heard that I was interested in having someone to do this.
No one else has.
No one else has. No.
So we need what you need from us?
I just wanted to let you all know that
Oh,
I was doing that, and make sure you didn't have any heartburn about it. So, other than that, I think that is all for me.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We'll go on to county commissioners news. I'm going to just make a real quick mention, because I don't have really anything else, that our solid waste enforcement at the sheriff's department that has been going since March the 8th has currently picked up 54,880 pounds of trash. They are probably going to be coming back to us with a request of maybe some other equipment to help them, like a trailer, something to haul that they could pull with the truck so they could haul more. And also some ordinance reviews on helping them to be able to enforce.
Do
Some
you have any
things.
numbers on any charges?
He didn't give me that. So he didn't give me that, but that leads to the next thing of some sort of training in the solid waste enforcement as to what they can and can't do. And I think they were working on that with Kevin originally. And that kind of got dropped off. And so we need to pick back up with that. But I just wanted to bring that up because that's stuff that's going to come up in the future. Nothing that I'm saying tonight. So, but anyway,
I'll pick up where you left off
okay.
and just say that I had an encounter with solid waste this weekend. I'm sure you heard about it. And it was not very pleasant at all. And I do think that we need to work to, you will hear about it. And I think we really do need to work with them to help them better understand what can and cannot be accepted. I took some things there personally and was ratted out, treated like an animal. It was really ugly. And the only way that they would accept it, I ended up having to call the sheriff and get a deputy to come down. And it was just, they were blaming that I couldn't do it because of the sheriff. And so the sheriff kind of had some hiccups himself with that he said he was going to speak to you about. So that is an issue. But my own report, Commissioner News, is that I attended the NCACC Board of Directors meeting earlier this month. And it was really informative, a lot of information. I want to encourage you all, if you're able, the annual session is coming up in August. Jason's going to share that. There's a lot happening in Raleigh that will affect the work that we do. And I think if you're able to attend that, it'll be to your benefit.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
along the lines of what Commissioner BJ have said, I've had some unpleasant experiences at our dump sites. And if I'm incorrect, correct me. The commissioners are in charge of the landfill. Somebody's making rules, and they're telling us what to do. We need to tell the landfill before they implement, you can't put any wood here. I had little pieces of wood on my truck and I couldn't dump it. I had to drive all the way to the landfill. And I was wondering, aren't the commissioners in control of this? But we are not. Before any more rules are made about what you can and cannot take to our dump site, it needs to come through this board.
And I don't know of this situation. We can talk about it later. That may be a dual conversation here.
I've been told, I guess it's according to where you go, because you go there, they got it split up into perishable items and wood here, plastic here, whatever. I didn't have any issues, so I guess it's according to wherever you go.
Well, no. Someone put in a rule, you can't take any wood to our dump site.
I took some Saturday.
I'm trying to, as
I had to
according to
take
wherever
mine to
you
the
go.
landfill, but the next time I'm gonna put it in.
I'm with you. I said the same thing.
Put it in the next
It's
time.
Lock
according
me
to, I
up.
find out where you went. It's according to where you go, John. I had to take.
But here's my thing, and I'm gonna let it go so we can do it later. My thing is not about my role, or if the rule is that citizens can, they should be allowed to. They shouldn't have to go through any hassle to do what we're providing them to be able to do. They're taxpayers.
It should be being,
It is, and so we just need to deal with it
should be being to explain.
because there's no reason they should let you dump and Commissioner Ivy dump, but won't let me and Alfred dump. That's wrong.
And I'm on the commission, I'm a regular citizen. and They help me.
So we
throw
need to
this
do
here, throw that
That's
there.
yeah. I didn't have no problem.
I've gotten help, but someone made a rule, don't bring any wood.
Are you talking about yard wood or like?
Wood that you just board.
Okay, well, that's what I
You
had.
must have a lot of wood, John. You had a lot of wood?
No,
I don't.
but my point is, we should have known about, I'm not against that per se, but that should come from the board, it should come through us first. Because we're responsible for our citizens,
That's right.
not the folk at the landfill. We need to make that decision.
Hey, it happened to me too, but like I say, when you don't wear a shirt and tie places, they, you know,
That's
they
right.
treat you like a regular citizen. But you wear a shirt and tie, go ahead, no problem. But it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. I know how
Anything
how to
else?
dress.
Duke, anything?
Well, I do want to say this to Jason, and I know we work after that. We appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate the fact that you're wearing more than one hat,
Doing 3 jobs.
doing 3 jobs, and we call him and work during the month. And
We talk about the
never-
increase later.
He'll talk about it.
Wasn't me. Not me.
I just want to tell him we do appreciate you, and it's not going unnoticed, Jason. So,
Three hats, 4 pairs of pants, and 3 pairs of shoes at one time. So.
I'm gonna, there, in whichever office I'm in at the time, I'm gonna put up a hat rack and put up a label, and then whatever hat I have on at the time, you'll know what I'm doing.
Well, speaking of that, Jason will be gone for the next week and a half,
Yes.
vacation. He's already sent an email out to the department heads, and I've made myself available during that time. I'm not gonna go in there and do what I was doing, but if something comes up and they need something, then
And I have, as I was gonna tell y'all, my office phone is connected to this phone. It's through an app. So I'm logging that off of my private.
Oh, you going on vacation?
But I've got
he's got his
I've
county
got the
phone.
county
We
phone,
get him.
and I'll give you that number in just a minute. But and of course, most of y'all have my personal number anyway, so which is fine. You can call me if you don't have my personal number. Let me know, and I'll give it to you.
you go to landfill this week.
All right, we can get off on that. All right, if nothing else from anybody, we're going to need to go into closed session pursuant to the items listed on the agenda. Need a motion for that.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second to go into closed session. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you all for coming tonight. And Susan, don't go far.
Hello, sir.
Hey,
How are you?
good. I'm Bill Lash, I'm landfill manager.
Oh, wonderful. Nice to meet you, Mr. Bill. Yeah,